I'm a driver, I'm a winner. Things are gonna change, I feel it.
Good morning. Welcome back to what I guess is kind of becoming a regular, I don't know what you call it, series spot.
Mm-hmm.
What would you call it, JiJi?
We'll figure it out. I was going to say segment, but segment seems like a part of a thing. No, but we could do segment.
You know what? It's just me and my friend JiJi hanging out on Wednesday mornings. Listen, some of the conversations that she and I have, discussions, debates, arguments, even that we have sometimes, throughout the week and stuff. And some of the things we think, this would be really kind of cool to try to, I don't know, kind of convey this or whatever, about once a week or something like that, because that's about all the energy I have. anymore, it seems like. But anyway, and look, here, by the way, guys, remember, Peepaw's Utter Butter, since that seemed to be a little bit controversial tweet I put out this past week. Good Lord.
Oh, that I did see. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't meme. Can't meme make funnies on Twitter no more. Because everybody just wants me to go away. Well, I ain't going nowhere, guys. I'm not going nowhere. So all the people that don't like me continue to not like me and tune in and hate watch me and and make your little snide comments underneath my tweets saying leave, because I'm not leaving. I'm here. Okay. I lived.
It's really weird when people do that. It's like you don't have better things to do.
Well, no, I understand. I do. I get it, right? They don't like me, and they want to see me going, and they're waiting for me to. And guess what? Newsflash: I will screw up again. I will make a mistake. It's inevitable. I'm human. I am flawed, and I will make a mistake. And I hope that I'll learn from my last one. And if I'm in the wrong, I will simply apologize, and I will not ride the bus off the cliff again. That's all I can say. And so, anyway, thank you guys for tuning in this morning. I'm here with JiJi. It's Wednesday, and I come to the realization last week, JiJi, that on our little shows or episodes or whatever you want to call it, right? I had been neglecting to do a little coffee meeting, right? Or not, the little memes I always do my shows, and it's all usually centered around coffee, and usually Purple gets me these things, right? But Purple doesn't really. This is kind of your and my thing. Sometimes I'll have things. Sometimes, more times than not, it's just you coming up with stuff to discuss and talk about. But I hadn't been neglecting getting to get these little memes or whatever. And so I thought, well, I'll correct that. I don't care what you call it, right? It's coffee day. You can call it hump day if you want to, but to me, it's just another day for coffee. And you know what? I actually have coffee this morning because, listen, I've had a rough couple of days.
Have you?
So again, I know because we're not supposed to put the personal stuff, but whatever. My wife had to have cataract surgery, and they had to replace one of the lenses in her eye, and so we dealt with that all day. She had her surgery Monday, came through it fine. She's still resting, convalescing. Had to go back in Tuesday for a follow-up checkup. They said everything looked good. And, but I had to go in because we've been having this, I've talked about this thing at work. We had this big major project at work, and the trigger was finally pulled. And thankfully, we'd done enough testing. And funny enough, because today we're talking about IT, right? In the IT world, and we did enough testing to where we've had roughly about 300 machines that have successfully migrated, and of those, and we've only had about 7-8 machines that we've kind of had to kid glove it a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Give them a little bit extra attention to get, because you're always, when you have a project of this mass where we're talking thousands of machines that we're going to ultimately wind up having to move from one management solution to this other management solution, you're always going to have a few outliers, right? Little problematic children that don't want to, conform, whatever you want to call it, right? And so that's to be expected. So, 7, I don't think so far out of 300, 7 is a very small percentage, right? So,
no, that's not bad. Yeah.
So, all right. So, you came to me, JiJi, and you said, because you said we're both in the tech industry, and I'm a millennial, and I'm a woman,
Wait,
and
hold on. I can do my own. I can do my own positioning. Hold on. So where did this come from? Uh, I've been working on being better at work.
Mhm.
Me personally in my own work, and separately from that, I've been talking to other people about their work because it's a big part of everybody's
Sure.
life. But in particular, I have a friend who's a bit younger than me, and by a bit I mean quite a bit younger than me. And so he's in a very different place in his career than I am. And, I think at every level it gets difficult sometimes. It gets rough, it gets a little heavy.
Sure.
Um, but it's very different now for me.
Hmm.
And yeah, and I kind of want to talk about that and also encourage, because I know in this community especially, there's a lot of people who have jobs but not careers, and that there is a difference there. Um, and yeah, so I figure we talk about it. We are both in the tech space, although
Uh,
I think we're very very different areas.
okay.
Um,
Yeah. See,
we're
that's
gonna
kind of
meet and all that.
so. I was talking to some of my IRL people last night,
Hmm.
right? And funny enough, after you and I had our like hour long
Hmm.
discussion last night,
Yeah,
our discussion, which had nothing
talk
to do
about
with.
politics,
We
guys.
talked about politics,
It
which is
was.
the worst possible thing to discuss. But honestly, I kind of came away from that last night. I was drained because I never had a really rough day, but I wasn't
Hmm.
like beat down. You know what I'm saying? I
Yeah,
was.
I thought it was good. I thought it was a good
Yeah, I
conversation,
thought
which
we
is
kind of,
rare.
yeah, wasn't there
Yeah,
wasn't yelling, screaming, calling each other, uh,
yeah.
fascist or all the other key buzzwords right now that's being thrown around in politics. But um,
Hmm.
anyway, so and I was talking to my friends or whatever, and they said, well, what because they don't really live in this world that we're in right now, right? The YouTubes and
Right,
stuff.
right.
They just go to watch game reviews and trailers for movies or TV shows or things of that. Just the nonsensical part of the internets, right? And
Right.
so anyway, but they because they're friends, they say they feign interest in what's going on, and because of they think I'm insane for doing this, but um, and they said, I said, well, my friend JiJi, who's a millennial, and we podcasted together back in the day. Uh, we're going to be talking about the different perspectives of one, a female versus male, and then two, millennial versus Gen X, when it comes
Hmm.
to the technology world, IT world, and stuff. And they said, well, what does she do? And I said, well, I said she pulls uh,
Data.
data information
Hmm.
from
Okay.
databases.
Yep.
I said, I assume it's probably because at this time, well, you and I really hadn't had a conversation, but I said,
Yep.
I suspect it's like SQL query languages where she
Yep.
pulls these statistics and data stuff that she has for her job so that
Hmm.
she can see trends, and she's like an analyzer and stuff, right? And they're like, oh, that's not IT. And understand these guys are kind of IT like me. They're like techie and stuff, right? Well, I wouldn't call that
Yeah.
IT. And I said, well,
Yeah.
it's not IT in the traditional sense to where she's like managing servers or users or networks or
Yeah.
cyber.
Like industry wise,
Yeah,
it isn't. It
yeah.
technically what I do wouldn't be part of
But
the IT umbrella for
but
sure. But
here's what I will say right off the bat, right? Because
hmm.
I started doing IT work. I graduated from tech school in 1990, and immediately went uh, into do so. See how many years is that? Help me with my math this morning. So 1990
1990, so
to
34
two
years.
about 34 years. Is that right? About 34 years. Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
about right. Anyway, so when I first started doing IT, anything to do with IT. It didn't matter if it was like the actual hands-on, like what I was doing back in the day, where was troubleshooting PCBs or printed circuit boards,
Mm.
and find the failing component on the PCB, desoldering, resoldering, you know, getting things up and going, uh, replacing print wires inside of a dot matrix printer head, all kinds of stuff that, back in the day we actually repaired things. We just didn't swap out a board or a whatever. We actually had to fix things. We were not quite a disposable society as we are today. Because it was still cost effective to fix things versus just swap them out. But it was 100% a male dominated industry. I can remember there was one. I remember one in the company I worked for, which was a nationwide here in the United States. It was a nationwide company. And I don't remember how many employees they had back there. This would have been in the 90s. But it would have been in the thousands. I think there may have been just a handful. When I say a handful, maybe 4 or 5 female technicians are actually out working on like equipment. Most of the people, and we had like what would you call it? Like a dispatching system, where we would call in to get our work, our service tickets, things like that. Now that was primarily women, right? But nowadays it is so drastically changed, and for the better. Let me just right off the bat say that it's still a little bit lopsided, leaning towards men as far as doing tech type stuff. But it is a lot better. It's more towards the middle bubble, where there are women doing actual IT type stuff, which I'm glad to see. So and it's
I think this leads into the first video that I sent you, day in the life of a tech bro. I'm sure your day is just like this too.
all right. Let me get this pulled up. A tech bro, probably so. I haven't seen these videos, but I will give you the.
Yeah, in case anybody's wondering if Peepaw gets a preview of the things that I send, he does not. He gets to be surprised with everybody.
I know. I told her I don't want to see these. I want to come into these. I want to come into these cold.
This is a
Okay.
One day I will abuse this power, but I'm gonna wait for a real good one. It's gonna be,
a real good one.
It's gotta be worth it. Yeah.
Okay, so the live. Okay, where's the audio? Get this audio. Let me turn this up over here where I can hear it in my ears. Oh God, I already don't like it.
This is a day in the life of a tech bro. I wake up at 7 a.m. and immediately acquire capital from an angel investor.
Dad?
First of all, most tech people are up way before, but anyway.
The tech world, you have to be innovative and disruptive. I disrupt the credit card from my dad's wallet. To cut burn, I take an EV to the office. Lots of traffic today. First thing I do is drink my breakfast in the form of a protein shake. Then I say my daily affirmations in the bathroom mirror.
You're the smartest person in the company. You're the smartest person in the world.
Now that I'm locked in with the right grind set, I can finally get some work done. At 11 a.m., I introduce myself to John's new baby. I can already tell he's gonna be a successful disruptor. For lunch, sweet green. I offer to pay for everyone and then ask them to Venmo me later. Because I use my dad's stolen black card, I actually make money on the transaction. Back at the office, I discover John's baby has become CEO. People move up quickly in the tech world and my CEO is way younger than me. Then we get in swag formation to accept our mandatory swag. I really like Mr. John's baby. He leads from the front. After a few more hours of work, we head out for our 3 o'clock happy hour. I love getting to know my interesting coworkers with unique personalities. Then I go on a date with the girl I met on Hinge.
My company's basically like the next big thing. I'm kind of new Steve Jobs in a way. Not to be like that big of a deal, or kind of like the new like Jesus, but...
I think I may have disrupted her attraction to me. At 7 p.m., I head back to my starter home. Hopefully in a few years I can actually get something nice. And that's my day.
And we should be coming back. And we're back. Sorry about that, guys. I don't know exactly what happened. OBS crashed again. So maybe.
It didn't appreciate you talking about its tech bros like that. What happened?
Well, okay. So that might be accurate.
This is a day in the life.
Shut up. That might be accurate for like the younger generation, like the millennials or what's the ones after millennials?
Gen Z.
Gen Z.
Gen
That
Z.
might be because I could see that because actually, here's the deal. My the company I work for recently they hired a guy that was a millennial, and I did see a lot of this type, of like stuff out of him. Gen X, that's tech, the tech bro thing. No, that's not a thing. It's just not. So, but I could see how this is probably. I can see how this is probably realistic as far as maybe the younger gen of tech stuff.
Well,
Yeah.
it's the modern. So I know people are
Yeah.
like, I'm looking for a man in finance. This is just the tech version of that. It's a particular type of person.
Sure.
It's not everybody. It's certainly not most people. You will also notice the lack of racial diversity in that group that we just showed, and that is also, I feel, more indicative of the tech bro feel exactly, because I do feel like tech is also very heavy Asian, very heavy Asian. But for a while there,
Mm-hmm.
even though a lot of the engineer level people were Asian including West Asian, meaning Indian.
Yeah.
And now it's a little bit more even. Now I think it's a lot more diverse in general. But in terms of this tech bro, this is a finance bro who can code. That's what this is. So they don't really care about the code as much as they care about making money above all other things.
Yeah.
So this is a different character than that one. Yeah, I will say the whole like it being mostly men was a thing that I was warned about, and I've been very fortunate that has not been my experience specifically.
Yeah.
However, I will say that the peers that I have that are in this industry or who work in tech, with the exception of like one person that I work with,
Okay.
like in terms of friends, they're all men, and there are still a lot of companies where they're all men, and a lot of our engineering are also mostly men. So I would say that it's still very much the case that I mean, at least, yeah, that is, it's still a lot more male dominated. But I do think that also a little bit kind of, and this is gonna play into the stereotype that people say about this, right? But part of the reason that people don't think women can do this job, because women do tend to be like more emotional, right?
Mhm.
Which I think indicates that women have stronger social skills, generally speaking, whereas men are thought of to be like more logical and rational, and so they're more leaning into like the maths and sciences type of things. And if you meet, like, the stereotype with tech people is they don't know how to talk to people, right? So you would think, and that's why these kind of roles would tend to suit them. Yeah, but I don't know how much that's actually true. I will say it is more you do more physically, I think, especially when you're at the engineering level of things. Oh, you can play the next one, because so this is the life of a tech bro, but
Yeah.
then the other one is what I feel like yours is more like.
Okay, copy link. Yeah, okay, well, let's see what it's like here. Let's see. We go live screen, and then we go. Yeah, so let's see what this says here. Paste and go. Okay, we can copyright music off the bat. Turn that off.
Yep.
Oh yeah. The whole thing, he's being teased by this remote. Yes, this is definitely yes, to be out in the woods, secluded. Yeah, just to get away from work from the data center, get away from the data center. 100%. 100%. You know, so Here's what I will say has been my experience. Um, Younger people that I have come into, dealing with and worked with and that type of thing. You're right. Their ability to interact with people, um, can be a really hard to watch.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
They're
it's really hard to do.
it's
I'm
hard for the
so
young. It's okay. So it's hard for the person, right? The young
yeah.
person that and,
Mm-hmm.
and to try to see them to interact with customers and things like that. It's a struggle, right? And so for me, sitting back, who's been doing this stuff for whatever it was 30 years or whatever it is, 30 plus years, it's it's so painful to watch this, right? Um,
Yeah. I mean, well, work is hard. Work is hard.
well,
Social things are hard. There's a lot of more rules I've heard,
yeah,
and people really underestimate, and which this leads to you're transitioning so well through these videos. I think part of it is also like the next video is about corporate speaking. Is that I'm especially me, as
yeah,
we all know I'm autistic. I tend
yeah,
to speak very flatly and directly, and
yeah.
people don't like that. People
Well,
do not appreciate that, generally speaking.
so
Um,
what I will say is this is I know when I first started in the industry, um, I was very matter of fact, right?
mhm.
I just wanted to get in, solve the issue, and get out, right? Um, but I learned early on in my career, if you take a little bit of time and put the customer, the user, the end user, the customer that you're dealing with, right? If you kind of chit chat with them, right?
Mhm.
Show them a little bit of your human side, if you will, right? Keep the cyborg side hid. Show them the human side. It put it made them at ease, right? And it kind of calmed their fears, which is, I feel, it's very important, because, sometimes and I don't know if Gigi has this in her particular area, but in mine, like sometimes when you're working on a problem or you're whatever, you can have those ones that um, are just really a pain, right? You do the normal things that you've seen in the past, all this whatever, and it doesn't solve it, right? And so it takes you longer. So then the end user is more inconvenienced because they're not able to do their job, which is putting them behind, which means their boss is going to be after them, right?
Mhm.
So it's just it just keeps snowballing, right? But if you can kind of keep their anxiety down, for lack of a better word, it just kind of, you know, it makes things a lot smoother in the long run. I
Yeah.
had the time to
Um,
develop that stuff, but I'm
yeah.
wondering because I don't know. I'm just I'm what I'm saying is I see this younger generation, the millennials and the Gen Zs and stuff that are entering into the tech field, and I wonder because I feel like sometimes because it's a different world, right?
Yeah.
I came from a world where we still got out and played with our neighbors and and ran through the grass and drank water from the garden hose and all the placations and the memes that is Gen X, right? But
Mhm.
this generation, the millennials, these later generations, millennials and Gen Zs and stuff, you guys grew up on technology, right? It was part of your education process. It was not part of mine. You guys grew up with cell phones. You grew up with all these things that I didn't grow up with that
I
I've
mean,
had to
some
learn.
people grew up with. I'm quite a bit older. It was still common for people like in high school not to necessarily have a cell phone when I was in
Yeah,
high
but you
school.
had
Like
computer
some people
classes,
did, but
right?
some
You had computer classes and
not
did
classes,
computers.
not classes, but you were expected to have a computer at home. Yeah.
Okay. See, that was not a thing. Computers were just kind of starting to show up, right?
Yeah.
And so that was not part of the thing. So anyway, what I'm saying is there was, I wonder, I don't know if I will live long enough to see this, but I'm wondering, like some of these, like I said, the millennial IT and the Gen Z IT and stuff, when they're my age, will they have developed the skill sets of how to talk to the end user and kind of put their, I don't know, uneasiness at ease, and, and concerns at ease, and you know what I'm saying? The whole inner, because there is a personal side of this that you have to deal with the end user, and it's not all just zeros and ones,
Yeah.
I
You should
don't
pull up the next video. I do have thoughts about this specifically with the younger generation, and I think this next video actually really highlights what I feel is part of it.
Okay.
Also, we never actually backed up and said what it is that I did. So you're like IT proper. I am not IT proper. My title's very specific, so I'm not gonna say that. But basically, I'm a product insights analyst. So what I do is basically test the efficacy of and efficiency of features on the product that is that I work on, and follow trends and look for opportunities, and kind of, I'm a little bit of a torch carrier in that I deal with the data, and myself and the other data professionals I work with are familiar with the data, and our job is to understand it so we can explain it to other people so that they don't necessarily have to understand it.
Yeah.
So it is less coding, it is less building from that perspective, but it is very much telling a story, which does require you to have like some level of understanding of how humans should work. I think what happens to me personally is I can sometimes think overly logically, and I tend not to be worried that much about how people feel about it, and as a result I get in trouble sometimes. So the next video I sent Riv was specifically about a way of speaking that I really have trouble with, because firstly, I'm like, if you're trying to say, just say what you're trying to say, because the language is difficult enough without me having to decipher.
Yeah.
So this next one is the corporate translator,
Okay.
which I think is real good.
Why does it automatically mute? That's wild.
Hey,
Mine
I'm glad we
doesn't,
can
though. I
connect.
don't
Thanks
know
for
why
jumping
yours
on.
does.
Got any fun plans this weekend?
Why is he asking me that? Yeah, he's buttering you up so that he can deliver you bad news in a positive way.
Thanks for joining, translator. It's a pleasure to have you here. So let's dive in, shall we? So for your performance review today, we're going to cover your rockstar goal attainment, your areas for strategic opportunity advancement, and then we'll finish off with your career optimization trajectory. Does that sound good?
What? He'll cover the things that you did well, the things that you didn't do well, and then discuss an arbitrary next step within the company that you will likely never get to.
Haha, always a pleasure. Always a pleasure with you here. So over the course of this year, you attained 100% of your actionable deliverables, which is incredible. The delta within your targets is your activity levels, which could really use some optimization. Because if you were able to achieve on those alignments, I could really see you moving into a team lead role.
You hit all of your goals, but they're still not going to give you a raise. Is that true?
Yeah, well, listen, the company had a good year, as you know, but budgets currently are restricted and there's a tremendous amount of scrutiny around fund allocation.
The company has money, but they don't want to spend it on you. Great. Hey, can you translate this for him? Tell him my future and this company are not strategically aligned. Oh yeah, for sure. He said he quits.
Oh my God, this is a lot to unpack.
He's saying he wasn't expecting you to react that way.
Okay, would you stop, please?
You know what?
Yeah.
1,000%
It do be like
relate to this one. I 1,000% relate to this one. Oh my God.
There's all these terms. I think I've said it. I've said it multiple times this week to entirely different people. But if I hear the phrase "do more with less" one more time from anybody who gets paid more than me, I'm
Yeah.
gonna scream. I'm gonna scream.
Okay.
Because it is there, and that's like that's the one that's pissed me off at the moment.
Yeah.
But all of these, I'm like, just say what you're trying to say, bro. I don't have we're spending so much time on like all of this, but yeah, that it do be like that. If you don't speak corporate, learn, cause
So,
yeah.
funny story. The job I'm at currently, I started working at it about 8 years ago. Prior to that, as I've said numerous times, I worked in the K-12 environment.
Mhm.
And in that environment, they every year that you did not get like performance reviews or anything like that. It was you basically they had what they called a salary schedule, and so you knew every year for X amount of years you're going to get so much more money on your pay. In my case, it was laughable. It's like $500 more a year. So by the time you divide that out over a 12-month contract, apply taxes to it, basically I was making less money every year because of cost of living and all that stuff, right?
Right. Yeah.
But so there was no negotiations, is what I'm saying. There was no, hey, I need more money, because that was not a thing. That just, you had a contract that you signed, and this was the pay scale, and this was what you were going to make each year. And once you hit the cap, right, that was it, right? So after about working there 16 years, and I was rapidly approaching that cap when I left. And I had way more years ahead of me that I needed to work. And I had, kids going off into college and stuff. And I was like, yeah, this does not align with my financial goals. Whatever. Use some of the corporate jargon, whatever. And so I left there and I went to work at a different place. And they did do annual reviews. There was no salary schedule, right? And so the first, I was hired to come in and do a certain thing. I did that thing. I did it well. And I mean, I took and cut the time that it was taking them to do this one process. It was taking them like hours to do it. And I got it down to where they were essentially doing it in about 20 to 30 minutes. You think about that. It was taking them hours, like 3 to 4 hours. And I got them down to like 20 minutes to do this on these computers. This process. That's great, right? I mean, that's major productivity increase, right? And so came around for my review. I sat down with the boss. Great, that's okay. And I was like, all right, so let's talk about salary then. I've been here a year. I've proven, you guys, when you interviewed me, you asked me, could I do this? And I guaranteed, yes, I can do this. I could do this. I can, whatever. And I've done it. So now let's talk about compensation, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, well, you see, our budget. I was like, so I looked at my boss and I'm like, would they give us, they had these ratings where 5 is the max, 1 is the least, right? And my review, I was like 5s. I was like, I'm superstar here, right? I am the man. And I'm like, so what does this mean? I mean, I've got this review, but I can't get it. He goes, well, it's just a metric. I said, for what? I said, if it's not directly impacting or reflecting and I'm getting more money, then I said, this is a waste of my time.
Right. Yeah.
Because they would send you these forms, right? And you'd have to go through there and explain and justify your job, right? Have you ever had to do this, JiJi? Where you have to justify and this is what I do, and right? And
not in my current company, but in the past, yes, I have had to do this. Like, what do you do in a day? Like, and part of this process, I obviously don't agree with it. I think it's you know. But I do think that like when you do go to fill out your resume, like this is now what they want you to put. I increased efficiency. I brought in X amount of money. I reduced blah 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 by this amount of time. Like
Yeah.
they want tangible numbers on
Yeah.
what it was that you did. It is very that, and because of technology and like advancements in technology, it's a lot easier for people sitting in an office somewhere to decide on a metric that is theoretically possible, but maybe
Yeah.
not actually. So, for example, obviously, we're very focused on KPIs, which are key performance indicators, and there are some of them where the goal that they set for the year is one that they know at the front we're not going to hit.
Yeah.
Like they'll set it, like they'll be like, okay, industry average for whatever the metric is like 1 to 2%. Our goal is 6, and it's like, okay, so let me get this straight. Across industry, everybody, big and small, is doing a 1 to 2% conversion, and our goal is 6. So they know that we're not going to hit it, but they want us working as though it's even possible, which is a little bit like, I'm one where like that's not motivating.
No.
Motivating to me is a goal I can hit and like ideally surpass. But that's, it depends on the metric.
Because
really,
it honestly, it comes across as far as a worker perspective, it comes across as they're setting you up for failure, right? When they set up, when they set a metric that says da 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 da, and there is no tangible way for you to ever meet that, right? Yeah. It's just so. And here's another thing that's happened over the last couple of years, right? So, a lot of IT people, especially in the particular field of IT that I do, right? We are an older generation because what we do is something that they don't teach, right? You can't go to college and learn to do what I do. You can go to college and you can get a, I don't even know what the degree would be. It's basically, you just learn how computers operate. Maybe
you
might
would go to computer science and then
computer science, exactly right.
Into whatever it is,
Right. And so to learn what I do, right? Computer science, information technology. Thank you, my son. My sons are in the chat. So you learn that, right? But to get into this, like my son, who's also in the, is in the IT industry, he went on and specialized and actually has a degree in cybersecurity. He is a cybersecurity specialist, right? And he's very good at his job. Very, very proud father here. But for what I do, they don't teach, right? You have to actually go to work inside of a corporation, and then you get in with an old head like myself, and we have to teach you the ropes, kind of like what happened a little bit with me, right? But when I came through to it, there was really no old heads to teach, so I had to teach myself through reading and attending, some workshops and things like that. And that's how I learned how to do what I do, watching some YouTube videos here and there, and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I am a little bit envious of the early days of tech, because now, to me, especially, I'll also get into, I don't actually have a tech background. I'll get into that. But that when you look at like what some people did as a job and what they were getting paid to do it in the early days, I'm like, I could be in a beach in Tahiti when all I did was like move a file from A to B. If this was like 95 or something, I said I was a kid in 95, but so it used like, and granted, it's that there were people who didn't know, and there are still people who don't know. FAFO is the best method for IT computer science. This gives me a good transition into what I was gonna say. So my background is not in IT. The degree that I have, like from my college, is in sociology. Not technical at all. For sociology, they don't even make you do like a proper say proper, like a quote unquote real math. I took liberal arts math and statistics. That's it. And statistics because my original plan was to go into social science. And then I went in a different direction. And after in media, I was a
Yeah.
media researcher, and I very much was JiJi, come on, you can say words. No, I mean it's not. Firstly, I have to get to work after this, so I can't loosen the word belt up. But yeah, so listen, I've been working on it. We're not getting me.
Yeah.
Yay. But I worked in media for like a couple of years, and I knew that the research that I was doing, people still do it, but it's very much on its way out. It's very dependent on user-friendly interfaces
Yeah.
that are somewhat basic, and it was already moving in the direction of wanting to use more data science methods, so machine learning, like now AI generation, language learning models, and all that kind of stuff. And I had started to dabble in it, but it takes time, it's a lot of effort, blah blah blah. And then COVID happened.
Yeah.
So during COVID, I had not been working at the beginning of that, and finding a job was really, really difficult. And a lot of people weren't hiring at all. If everyone remembers, like in the beginning of the pandemic, like everyone had put a stop to everything. If you didn't already have a job, like good luck to you.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I took that opportunity to go to a coding boot camp and learn how to do data science. And that, firstly, so expensive. Like I'm not going to give the name of the school because I don't recommend them. I will say that the tuition was $17,000, and that's by a MacBook to go. So the point of entry was difficult. On top of that, it was a 4.5 month like crash course in data science, which for anybody in tech, like what can you do in 4.5 months? Well, if you don't sleep, you can do a lot. And it is very difficult. It's a program that a lot of people don't don't pass, don't make it through. Especially if you struggle with math. I'm very fortunate to have, yes, that is correct. To have a friend with a degree in mathematics, like he has a master's in mathematics, who tutored me through the statistics that I needed to learn to pass this, and then everything else. So it was very, very intense. I put a lot of effort into it, but I was motivated, and I was the most motivated because even in the last month of that, they tell you, oh, don't bother looking for a job. Like you have to do your capstone. And I was like, fuck you. I have to get a job. I'm going to do it anyway. And so I was doing both at the same time. So I was very much burning the wick at both ends as I was graduating. But the end result was I was the first person in my class to get a job. Yeah. And some people actually never ended up getting that. And I got like my target salary, which was, slightly under 6 figures, which was already double what I was previously making prior to going to the boot camp. And it was really, really good. Now, I will say that part of the reason I get that job is because I already had work experience. Yeah. So, the interview process was easier, and because I still stayed within media, that background kind of carried me through a lot of conversations. And I will say that the biggest change for me going from what I would say was a media research job to a tech job, or, a more tech related job, is that I came from like the marketing side of things. I worked at an agency, I worked for television stations. And so a lot of what I was doing when I was storytelling was bullshitting. It was, my job was to bullshit the bullshitters and giving them the terms and things that they could say when they went to go bullshit other people, when they went to go sell ads, when they went to go talk to channels, when they were trying to pitch people on whatever. Like I was giving them those little sound bites from the research to do whatever. What I didn't like about it, because like I said, my background's in sociology, which means my education is a lot more based in academia, is that media research, I don't know if you guys know this, there is so much like money that is moved around and traded based on data that, from an academic standpoint, would never fly. Like, I remember being in class and then being like, well, if you do a study with like 1,000 people or less, like that's not really data you can rely on. They literally will spend millions of dollars on ads and placement and all this stuff, and they'll tell you, oh, this area has 1 million people, 1,000,005
Yeah.
people, and then when you look at what that's based on, it's
Yeah.
modeled
Yep.
usually from a few hundred people, and they
Mhm.
just model it out to be like more,
Yeah.
right? Like, I'm not going to point to any company, but if you're particular like a company you're thinking of when you're thinking of ratings, that's the one. And that is a lot of how those ratings are come to. And so I stepped into media and went, doing what now? You're telling me that we're about to move like 1.7 million from like major companies, Geico, Burger King, um, VTech. That this is another company I work for. And they're gonna do it based on the fact that 45 people watched this show, because that's what
Yeah.
it comes down to. It's 45 people who actually
Yeah.
watched it.
Yeah.
And it was wild to me. Yes, exactly. So when you're on the marketing side, my job was to do that. Like, I knew what the data said. But they didn't want to hear that. They said, okay, the question was, what is the spin? How are we telling this? How are we selling this? And that to me is bothersome. It was very bothersome, but I got used to it, and I learned how to talk the talk and walk the walk.
Yeah.
Then I came into data science. And guess what? They don't want that, because then they have the numbers. A lot of people are a lot more technically minded, and like you still have to know how to bullshit a bullshitter, because that's ultimately what gets you promoted. I feel, but it was a lot more performance based and a lot more technical based, which some people prefer. I think one of the biggest things, and actually kind of the point of this stream for me, was to really encourage more people in the community on the internet space to really start thinking long term, like what they want out of their life in terms of like finances and stability and all that kind of stuff. Because the
Yeah.
reason I went to tech school wasn't just like at the time I was married. Like, realistically, my husband could support us both. I would have been fine at the time, right? Like, now I'm divorced, yay me. But at the time, like, it wasn't like that much of a pressure thing that I had to get a job. But it was a thing where I never wanted to be in a place where my skills were so not in demand that I was basically relying on like luck and kindness. Whereas now I have some hard skills to rely on. And my media background actually is the biggest thing that people reach out to me for. Like, I haven't applied to a job since I started the company that I'm at now, and I've been here for since I graduated the boot camp. I've been with the same company, different roles, but same company. I get reached out to, I don't know, like weekly, about other roles that people would like me to apply for. And part of it is, yes, I have the tech background, because they're always looking for that. They want code, they want you to understand warehouse. But it is also that because I came from the media landscape, I had that like in my back pocket. I understand it, which is a thing that the younger generation probably doesn't have opportunity to, because television is not a thing. And I want to encourage that, because I do feel like my life became very different when my job wasn't just, I'm going to go to work, I'm going to collect a paycheck, and I'm going to come home, and that's it. Like, I really do a lot more long term about my reputation and where I want to go and what goals I want to hit. And that's is what gets at least me through like the more difficult aspects of people being on me, and classes outside of work and everything. It's easy, kind of. I know that some people right now are struggling. They're getting up, they're going whatever their current job is. A lot of people I know in the food industry having to I think on Still Connected we talk about how Lamar works at a coffee shop, so he has to get up at the crack of dawn and deal with people. And I was like, oh man, the way I would throw coffee on people if they were at 8 a.m. in the morning. But it's because now at this stage of in my life and my career, I have the luxury of feeling that way, right? And don't get me wrong, I'm not one of these types who thinks getting a job that is quote unquote lower or whatever is bad. I'm gonna do what I have to do, right? And if one day I get to a point where the only job I can get is working at McDonald's. Guess what? That's what I'm doing because that's what it is. But a way that I'm trying to avoid that, right, is to constantly develop myself and find something that you like. And I know a lot of people do this, like supplement that greatly. And I think that's good. Good, yeah, but expand out, think wider, start really thinking. And I know that it's hard, guys. I know that especially for the younger people, it's so difficult to be like, I'm exhausted, I'm tired, I'm broke. Let me go online and watch this YouTube video or sign up for this course or drop 17K to go to a boot camp for 4 months. And it was a boot camp because it was intensive. I was working. I'm not kidding. The boot camp, I was doing stuff from 8 a.m. to like, I think the latest night ever was 3 a.m. because I had some code that just, it wouldn't work. It wouldn't work. And so I slammed my head on the table for 12 hours trying to get it to work. And that was every day for 4 months. But I was driven. I'm like, this is what I have to do. I have to get through this. I have to learn this. And eventually it'll be worth it. And obviously these were things I was telling myself, actually knowing. And 100%, like I have a lot of comforts now as a result of that effort, right? Like I work from home. I have really good benefits with the company I have. I am like, obviously I could use more money, but couldn't we all? But I'm definitely not, on the margins of things the way that I was before and all these other things. Like it's very much a choice that you have to make if that's what you want to do, especially because on top of everything, like the thing we just showed of the guy talking, you will still have to deal with that, and that it takes time also to learn. So yeah, so that's my experience, and that was really like for me the big goal of this was to really encourage to, like, if you are right now like not have free time and can focus on that, even just start thinking about it, you should, because I think it will pay off long term, and you just have to believe that it will. I know I'm being so hokey, that it will. But yeah, so I would like to show another video because I've just talking for a while. Not the next one because I feel like we've moved. Actually, no, the next one is really good. So the next one is when you jump from a non-corporate job to a corporate job, and I feel like this one super duper highlights like what those things are that I'm talking about, that when I worked like other jobs, it was like, are you serious? But also I will say this was also the case because I worked at smaller companies, which there's
Nobody
pros
tells
and
you
cons
that
to big company versus small company. But in general, these things that he's about to talk about are a lot of the things that, I really like. He's right. I remember doing this, but I haven't had to do it in ages. So
nobody tells you that when you jump from a non-corporate job to a corporate job, you realize how stupid certain rules were. Like if I had an emergency and I had to call off, it was my responsibility to find someone else to cover my shift. It's an emergency. I'm not the manager. Why is it now my job? What's worse is when I would have those managers that would like require a certificate. I had a manager require an employee bring a death certificate because their grandma died. For flipping burgers, I had this one job that if they found you looking at your phone at any time during the day, they would fire you instantly. I'm not even kidding. It was for this Iron Chef restaurant, and apparently they had a problem with people checking their phones when it was slow. So what? But since that rule, you had people taking 40-minute long bathroom breaks because of dumb rules. Ugh. Nobody tells.
Okay, so here's my problem with that video, right? I don't consider, and maybe this is blinders on my part or whatever, but everything he talked about was the food industry, and I don't consider the food industry corporate.
No, he's saying just non-corporate, but so my
but what he's saying, he says when you jump from a non-corporate job to a corporate job, right? And then he starts proceeding to go on and talk about how, oh, you had to bring in a death certificate. Oh, you couldn't look at your phone. Oh, you couldn't, if you were If you were some kind of emergency, you had to find your own replacement. That's not
Yeah.
corporate.
That's small company.
Huh?
That's small company. That's a small company.
No, that's retail. No, no. That's not even small company. That's retail, and that is the food industry. Specifically, I would lean more towards fast food industry.
So here's the thing. My job prior to graduating college, I worked at an answering service. Do you know what that is?
Yes.
So I'll say it for anybody who doesn't. It's so what I would do was answer the phone for offices when they're closed, most
Sure.
of which were doctors' offices. So I was on the phone all day talking
Yeah.
to people.
Yeah.
And we had a lot of these rules. We had like dedicated bathroom breaks. We couldn't have our phones on the floor.
Okay, but
we couldn't have food on the table. Like even though theoretically these are all things that you could have
okay.
done
So
without
let me just
Yeah.
pause for a second. Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
So, would you consider that a skilled job or a non-skilled job?
Non-skilled.
Okay, and that's my
Yeah.
point. What he's describing, and I don't
It's
mean to
not
upset anybody that does these jobs, but if you're working in the food industry, right now, I understand. I'm not saying chefs or sous chefs or things cooks like that. It's not a skilled position. I'm not saying that, but if you're looking outwardly in, right, and I'm not saying they're not hard jobs, and I'm not being dismissive, but those are considered non-skilled jobs, right? Flipping a burger, for example, is what he
Yeah,
said,
if you
right?
don't need prior training to do it,
Yes.
you can do it without a degree. These are all
He
what we're
specifically
talking about.
he specifically talked about flipping a burger.
Flipping burgers.
That was his example, right?
Right.
What I'm telling you, those type jobs, yes, they have all those insane type rules, right? I'm not arguing that. I was in that environment for a very, very short period of time.
Yeah, I was in it forever.
But it that's not corporate. I understand what his premise is because it's considered corporate because maybe it's a chain restaurant or whatever, but it's not corporate, right? Corporate world is a whole that is something where you have you're looked at a skilled employee, right? You're like a skilled employee. You have a certain skill set, right? And so it's different. So this guy's premise, to me, his argument is flawed. And what I'll also say is, and I'm being judgmental here, but he looks like he's very young, and I don't think he has enough life experiences, work or otherwise, to really understand what it means to be a quote skilled labor worker and a non-skilled entry-level type worker. So again, and I understand I'm being judgmental there, but I'm just telling you, based upon what he said in this video, and based upon how the age that he looks, I don't think he has lived long enough and had.
Well, we don't know because black don't crack. So
fine. Yeah, look, whatever. But you see, you know what I'm saying, JiJi. You've lived long enough that you probably have worked in both areas. Like right now, you work in corporate America, right?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so do you?
Unfortunately, no. Fortunately.
Yeah. So do you have? If you have to call in sick or out because of emergency, you don't have to find someone to replace you, correct?
No.
Okay. If you have a death in your family, right? Do you have to provide a death certificate to prove that you were out because of this funeral? No. So if you're sick for like an excessive amount of time, then they may require you to provide a doctor's note. But if you wake up and have a sniffles or you're just give a damn is busted that morning, you don't have to provide, and you got to take a mental health day. You don't have to.
So I'm actually chronically ill, so I don't have to do that either.
Yeah,
they check on my file or whatever. Yeah.
Which sounds like age discrimination. It is. It's 100% age discrimination. You're right,
but
man.
I don't think it's an age thing though, because what I was gonna say is the answering service, like that's a very kind of specific kind of role. It is almost admin, right? Like if you're a secretary, this is the kind of thing. But I imagine secretaries still have often have similar rules.
Okay, I'm gonna push back. I'm gonna push back.
Yeah, go ahead.
You were doing no, you weren't a
Virtual
secretary.
kind of.
No,
Yeah.
because okay. So were you filing records, or were you just taking phone messages and logging them and passing them on to the actual secretary for that doctor's office or whatever it was?
So it depends when I worked there that you're speaking of, but the main job was taking calls and do that. I will say though, like you say taking calls, but like on average, I think like on a regular day, I talked to 600 people in an 8-hour shift. Like it wasn't
Okay.
easy or fun. Okay.
Listen, I'm not
Um,
diminishing what you did, and I'm not saying that it wasn't a grueling, probably soul-numbing job. I have no right, but what I'm saying is that to me, right,
yeah.
a secretary is going to be, yes, they're going to be greeting the public, they're going to be answering phone calls, they're going to be pulling up, in like a doctor's office, they're going to be put up patient records. They're going to be, when they come in, they're going to greet them. They're going to pull their charts, put them up back there for the nurses to come, call them back in, start the whole process of visit of the doctor, whatever it is. To me, but as if you're working in an answering service like that, you're after hours, you will take the person's vital information, their name, phone number, where they can reach, and then pass that on and to whoever.
Yeah, and we were all like HIPAA certified and all that.
Yes,
kind of
yes.
you have to be, yeah.
Yes. See, so to me, it's a little bit different, and maybe I'm splitting hairs here, but it's just like, I don't know.
I don't disagree. Like if that's what you're saying, I don't disagree. I will say, oh, and Nat has a question. My thing is I do feel as though sometimes for retail worker, or like basically anybody who's an hourly employee, and I was just having this conversation with someone, and I felt bad because sometimes I speak stupid, and it's not what I mean. And I was talking about the different mindset between blue collar and white collar, when what I actually meant was the difference between hourly and salary mentality, because when I worked hourly, I worked more, I got paid more. So my brain was wired that way, right? The harder I work, the more I earn, and da 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 da. Now that I'm, like decidedly white collar and corporate, that's not how my job is. Much more about how much can I get done in the smallest amount of time, because I'm getting paid the same regardless.
Exactly.
So if I can finish all my work in an hour, that's great for me. Now I do do still, like, this is not me saying do all your work in an hour and show that. No, that's me saying do all your work in an hour and then pad it out for 7. When you can. Like there's busy days, there's short days, but like and that's all stuff that you learn, you enter I would say that in a previous job that I had, my biggest mistake was asking for more work. It actually ended up getting me let go ultimately. Like I was laid off. Mostly because my manager did not know how to, like, she didn't have time to manage me. So that was my fault, basically, is how that ended up. And what was weird was during my exit interview, they acknowledged that. And I was like, oh, so at least you know. But Nat had a question. How could a young experience to make a statement company won't hire them because they don't have experience? This is worse now. Like I've seen entry-level roles that want you to have 6 years of experience and experience like managing others. And I'm like, if this is entry level, so meaning they're gonna pay you an entry level, how sway basically, and I'll let people also answer this. My answer to that is ignore job descriptions for the most part. Like, yes, you should tailor your resume for every job you're applying to, so do that, but lie and then learn very quickly. Like all of your lies will come back to you. So don't lie and say like I was president of Guatemala. But if the lie is, oh, I know how to use Access, you can learn Access. Like it, you're not gonna be great at it, but you can very much pass for, oh yeah, I used that a few years ago. I probably need to brush up level of knowledge in a weekend. So 1, lie, but 2, they're not going to hire you really based on your resume. They're hiring you on your personality. It's about who they want to work with. If you're someone that they want to teach and train and like appear workable, they will work with you, which actually leads me into the next video, which is why I say the other big thing that really affected me, people is not going to like what I'm about to say, is that I'm a woman and the rules are a little bit different when you're interviewing in certain and I in particular have run into the situation where people tell me this, I come off very confident and matter of factly, and I don't know where that's coming from because I'm probably like most people pleaser, insecure, blah blah blah, but it's not what comes across to people at all. And as a result of that, when I meet people who are outwardly insecure, they are intimidated by me. I have been told number of times that I'm intimidating, and I was like, me? How? What did I do? And I believe them like you know, abstractly, but I don't hear it. So this is the thing. Here's a TikTok. It's very short. Yeah.
Okay. Make sure you go. Here we go.
We need to start preparing young women for the workplace drama that involves just a random old lady having one-sided beef with you. Like, I was fully expecting the misogyny and ageism from men, but nobody prepared me for this.
And this is a thing, man. It is a very big thing. And the reason for it, I mean, I have thoughts on why there's a reason for it, but it is notable that, especially in tech spaces, although really in any industry that is male dominated, there are going to be women, especially older women, who feel intimidated just by the presence of them being another woman. And it's partly because spaces change because of women. There was a few companies that didn't want to hire me because the teams were all men. And as a woman, I would have been disruptive to the team. I was verbally told that at 2 interviews. I would be great for the role, that if they can't find anybody,
can I shock
but
you?
that they're looking for a fit.
Can I shock you?
Yeah.
I agree with you on this.
Do you?
Yeah.
What have you seen that makes you agree with me? Because
So there is a woman in the IT department that I have to work with fairly frequently because her part of the because they have the IT as a whole broke into different departments, right? We have networking, you have cybersecurity, you have what I do, which is they call directory services. Then they have like a data center, which covers, you know, managing all the servers and the virtual servers and all that kind of stuff, right? And so we each all have our specialties, but then there's times when something comes in and it overlaps, and so we have to come together and we have meetings and everything, right? And one of the things that I've noticed is this woman is she's very intelligent. She has she's educated. She has her master's degree. She has not been doing IT as long as a lot of the guy, because it is, again, this is more or less a male dominated. We do have a few females doing in the IT department, but it's still male dominated, and it's primarily older gentlemen, right? My age and older. And so there is still that. A lot of them still have this this older mentality about, women not being quite as good at men in this field, right? Which is a holdover from my generation. And so, and it's the wrong mentality. Let me just say that. And what's frustrating for her, because I see this happening, like we'll be having one of these things where we have to have the collaborative, and she'll say something, right? And she'll be right or on the right path, and it will be kind of more or less ignored. And then a guy will say the same thing. They will just put not mansplain, but they'll just say it in a way that a man would say it versus the way a woman would explain it, right? Because there's a difference there. And all of a sudden, yeah, right? And what she said will be totally ignored. And it's very, and I've had conversations with her, and she gets so frustrated about that. And I tell her, I said, "Hey, I understand you. I hear you. I see exactly." And I said, "You're not losing your mind. It is 100% a thing." Um, so, yeah, I hear exactly what you're saying, and I don't disagree with you. And and even I've seen where there is cattiness because women can be catty, right? I don't think I'm saying anything out of pocket there. And rather than there being a sisterhood, because again, women, it's better than what it was. It was better than what it was, but women are still not like, they're still a small percentage.
They don't have the brotherly love that men
yes,
have.
the camaraderie, right? And
Yep.
so it's like even though these women are in like different departments and stuff, they will still compete because they don't.
Yeah, conversation for another. Maybe we'll do it next Wednesday. We'll talk about that brotherly love versus like sisters. Because I will say, I work with some really amazing, impressive women who, and most of which are incredibly nice. Also, who I would absolutely be friends with. However, that cattiness still very much exists, and there's a couple of people who I've had issues with, specifically because I'm not going to say specifically because there are some women who I suspect like part of their issue with me is the way I look. Like they feel they feel whatever ways, particularly if they're single and that in the I'm older, right? I'm in my, anybody that doesn't know, I'm in my late 30s, and I don't tend to look it. So, and then I'm also in tech, so I know how to code, and a lot of them don't. And, all these things, I can see why it would be intimidating, but, it's very much a thing I have to watch out for. Like I said, especially when interviewing, because of the way that I come, it's a thing. I have a very big presence, I guess. And people, especially women, although I will say that I've had some wonderful women be super encouraging to me and all that. It is a thing where if I was talking to a younger woman, I will tell them straight up, like, listen, when you're dealing with a younger woman, you need to work that much harder to come off subservient. Like, very much defer, very much, and you can't kiss ass either because they'll know. So the next video I wanted you to show was, so this woman, I saw this video and I am so icked out by it. And the thing is, her advice is pretty decent, right? Her advice is pretty decent. But everything about her demeanor tells me I want to A, stay the hell away from this woman, and B, like, not do anything to get in her crosshair. Yeah. Because, and you're only gonna play a little bit of this because I just want you to get like her vibe.
Okay. All right.
You're not the exception to the rule. You're probably going to have to work a corporate job, and I really think that a lot of the younger generation is doing it wrong. While I'm still pretty early on in my career, I have made some strides. By the time I was 25, I had more than doubled my salary. By the time I was 26, I was leading a team of 3. And by the time I was 27, I had switched firms, moved into a new industry, and became a director in that field. These are my learnings in no particular order, but they're all super important. First impressions are everything. So before you walk into the office that first day, you're going to want to listen to this podcast. We communicate, I think, 75% of what we're going to say through
pause. She does go into like more tips, which I do think, like, first impressions, she's not wrong. First impressions are super important. She goes into like other things, like never stay at a happy hour past 9, or if all the other women at that thing have left, like things like that she gives solid advice. But her energy is so, like, she's giving catty even in a thing where she's like doing helpful stuff. The other thing is to me, if someone is a higher up in corporate and they look like that, this is me judging people for how they look, that tends to mean they're a little bit type A, meaning not only are they like super focused on work, they are also trying to make sure their appearance isn't the reason anyone has an issue with them. So she's always going to be very, very put together, which to me, as a younger, when I was a younger person also, and still developing, makes me feel so inadequate. like I'm barely holding it together, and this woman somehow finds time to get a blowout in her neck while also doing XYZ. Like, and a lot of times they also have like a husband and kids to manage. So, and I'm not saying that any of that is what makes
so what you're saying is
not be a woman.
why she got to be so extra? Is what you're saying basically?
No, because it's not about being extra. It is the vibe of her is very much, I'm going to do whatever I have to do to succeed. And that energy works really well in industries that are male dominated, especially older men. That her energy is great for that. For me as a younger person, I tend to prefer to see a little bit of vulnerability. Like she's not coming across as human to me. She's coming across as the Terminator. Sounds like you're judging her for being successful. No, because I know a lot of successful women who do not have this energy. Like her energy is very specific, and I can say my mother's in media. My current boss, like my boss's boss, is a woman who like she was head of a major channel. She's done all of these things. She doesn't have this vibe. Yeah. She's kind. She's intelligent. She's capable. Not this vibe.
So I have a question for you.
Yeah, go for it.
So the company where I'm at, they recently, I say recently, probably within the last 3 to 4 months, they hired a person to fill a vacancy we had, who was a millennial. And unfortunately, they didn't make it past probation period. Okay.
Right.
When I met this young man, he was coming from a military background, right? He had served in the military, got his education in IT and stuff from the military, and then he came. So I thought because of the military background stuff, I thought, this is good because he's already going to be, I felt like, more mature than what your average person his age. And maybe that was.
I know people say don't date military men, but they're so polite.
Yeah, so I thought, and this may be old way of thinking, but I thought because military, he was just gonna be more put together, because they break you down, they retrain you, they build you into quote the best version of yourself or whatever, right? That's my understanding, and maybe the military is different now. I don't know. I was never in the military. But I've had family members and whatever, but again, they're old. It's older mentality, or they're older generation and whatever. But anyway, so I met this young man, and so I talk, and so
do you?
Yeah,
No.
and so so I think the best way to get to know somebody is just to kind of talk. And just so we're sitting there talking, we're visiting and stuff, and he made this statement that really kind of struck me as odd. And he said, "I don't work to live. I live to no. How is it?
I don't live to work. I work to live."
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
that
was the expression. Yes. And I said, explain that to me. Because I'd never heard the expression before. And so I explained this to me.
Wait till you hear Gen Z's version of that.
And so he starts explaining to me how his life is not about, the job. He just does what the job to basically allow him to live life and to do the things, whatever, right? And I was like, okay. And I was like, that was really such a foreign concept to me. Right? Because I was like, and I knew right then and there, this guy wasn't going to make it.
Yeah. Can I? Okay, now I'll let you finish.
Yeah.
Okay. So the mentality of what you're talking about is probably the biggest difference between Gen X and millennials.
Yeah.
Like millennials were handed, was beaten into us that we needed to work hard and care about our jobs and focus on it and this, that, and the third, to the point where I don't know if you guys can pick up on it. I also can be a little type A. I was that kid that if I didn't get it, let me tell you the discussion we were going to have about why I didn't get that A.
Yeah.
You know, I eased up later in my educational career, and I've eased up a little bit now in my regular career, but I can be very intense about like metrics like that.
Yeah.
If I can get an A, I want an A and I will work hard for it. But the result of that is when my boss is upset with me, oh boy, I am devastated. Like there was one recently, I put together a presentation and my boss was like, this is too complicated for what we're doing. Let's simplify. Let's do this other thing. And the thing he wanted me to do was something that was like maybe 5% of the work that I had done. So one, my work wasn't going to be used, which was very frustrating. But two, it was what we were doing was something that was not to the level that I would have liked it to be. And I had to like just suck it up because he's my boss and I need to do what I'm doing. But it literally, like I was depressed about it, very depressed about it for 3 days. He didn't yell at me. He didn't tell me my work was bad. He just said he wanted something else and I was devastated.
Yeah.
I think that the mentality of work to live versus live to work is a better mentality. I think what you're thinking and what does happen with some people, and I do a little bit with Gen Z, and I don't know what's going to happen with Gen Z in terms of that, because I do feel like they do not understand that in order to get to a position where your job can be cushy, you have to work hard. Like the reason I can have the job that I have now is I paid my dues. I busted my ass and got here where now it can be cushy. And that's the thing that I don't think Gen Z is really seeing. Granted, part of that is social media, but I do talk to younger people, they reach out to me on LinkedIn, and if I have the time, I absolutely talk to people as often as I can. Is like, listen, if you think you're going to come in here and coast, that's never going to be the thing, especially if you work in an industry with a lot of older people, because they very much want to see you working hard. They don't care if you can do it in an hour. They want to see you work.
So you know, I'm going to tell you what, here's what my generation, right, was taught that if you work hard and you whatever, that your boss will take the company whatever will take care of you. That's a lie. Let me just tell you, it is 100% a lie.
You're caught, and they will replace. If you die, if you drop dead on the floor, they'll replace you within 30 minutes. I'm sure.
But let me just tell you this. Even though that's a lie, and I will say the vast majority of my generation knows that's a lie, right? The problem is that for us, we had to work long enough to come to this realization. So we nose to the grindstone, right? Just grind. We paid our dues, as JiJi said.
Yeah.
And so the problem is now we have the millennials that are coming into the workforce, and my generation typically are the ones who are in the managerial, supervisory roles and stuff, right? So we see these young people coming in, we're like, okay, we're not going to.
I worry.
No, I'm not worried. We're not worried. We're like, okay, we have to see you work, right? You have to pay your dues. We paid our dues. You have to pay your dues, right? And what that means simply is this.
You're going to do the grunt work, and you're going to be happy to do it because it's
exactly. Like we hired in my particular department that I'm in, we hired a very young lady, and I was excited because I am a champion. I feel like I've always been a champion of women entering into the tech field, right, and into into that thing. And so, I was tasked with kind of mentoring her by my supervisor, showing her the ropes and stuff, right? And so I said, okay, so here's the deal. It's kind of like this. I'm going to trust you with these jobs. These are jobs that have to be done every day. I said, understand something. They're mundane. They're annoying tasks, but what it will do is it's going to get you introduced into doing what this department does, right? It's the entry level stuff. You get these, you show that you can be trusted with the small things that are intricate, and these are pebbles that need to be moved every day. These little pebbles need to be moved every day. You show me that you're reliant and you can do these things, and then I will start moving and giving you more exciting things to do, right? Because I know I can trust you to whatever, right? And she was like, cool. And so one of the first things I started noticing was, like, our workday would say start at 8 a.m., right, for example. Well, she would come in at 8:05 to 8:10. Okay. And then she would go on her 30-minute lunch break. And then she'd come back, and then she would leave promptly at 4:30 because our day was 8 to 4:30 is our slotted work time. And she'd be boom, right? Well, the time came for review, and the boss gave her, like, I think back then the scales they were using was 1 to 4, and he gave her a 3 on this one metric, which was like basically makes good use of their time and stuff, right? And the thing that he specifically cited in there was comes to work late on a regular basis, you know, and it doesn't make up the time at the end of the day, right? And she came to me griping about it, right? And I asked her, I said, okay, so what time do you show up of a morning? She said, well, 8, 8:05, 8:10. Sometimes, you know, it's, you know, I have to stop to get my coffee, and it takes a bit longer. Whatever. I said, okay, fair enough. I said, I'm going to ask you a question. I said, I'm going to show you mine, right? Mine was 3. I was given a 3, and it said, basically said, Riv meets the requirements, right? And I asked her, I said, what time do you think I show up to work every day? She goes, well, I don't know. I said, yeah, because you're not here when I get here. But I said, I'll tell you right now, I show up around 7:30 every morning. And I said,
as somebody who struggles with attendance and timeliness, let me tell you how many times I've gotten in trouble with people. I have worked at places where my work can be stellar. It can be perfect. And my boss will still get on my ass every other day. And I stayed late, so I'm not this person. The reason my work is stellar is because I was staying till 6 or 7 well past to finish things on my work computer, because this is when I still worked in an office. And she would get on me about coming in at, let's say, 9:15. And the thing is, that first hour is shot to hell anyway. So
doesn't matter.
Who cares?
Doesn't matter.
Gen X cares. This is what I'm saying.
Well, no. Okay, but again, understand what I'm saying. When I understand what you're saying. When I was telling her, this goes in hand with what. So if we can trust you with the little mundane things that need to be done every day, even though that you don't see the importance or significance of it, right? But being there, with your day supposed to start at 8 a.m., you need to be there at your desk, ready to go.
7:50, I know. Or
right?
Earlier. Oh, also, Kevin Z says, early is on time is late. Yeah. So I was in marching band, and my director drilled this into us, and it was early is on time is late, and late is unacceptable.
Yes.
We would say this as a class, okay? For years, because I was in marching band I was in band for 7 years. Right?
And I told her, I said, look at this. I said, you got a 3, right? She goes, yeah. I said, I got a 3. I said, I'm here at 7:30. And I said, and you leave every day at 4:30. And I said, when you leave, who's still sitting at their desk? She goes, well, you are. I said, that's right. And I said, I don't normally leave till about 5. So she goes, well, but she goes, I quit. I said, I understand. The quitting, the day starts at 8, ends at 4:30. I get you. I'm not arguing that. I said, but here's the thing. What I want you to draw attention to is you and I both got the same marks, right? I actually go above, but I'm saying I do my job at the, prescribed level. And the boss is still saying, you just need to show up on time. And I said, but you didn't get a mark lower than me. I said, what are you bitching about?
Yeah. If I were you, I'd be irritated.
I said, I was like,
yeah.
I said, here's what you got to understand. First of all, I don't believe that anybody should necessarily kill themselves for their job, right? You should go in, you're
do what
there.
You're supposed to do.
Do what you're supposed to do.
More. Not an inch more.
And you have to understand. You have to understand there are going to be times that you're going to be called to go above and beyond.
Yeah.
And you need to do that. Understand
you need to be willing to do that. Yeah.
But you understand,
and
you're not going to get a reward. You might
correct.
get it. You might get an attaboy from your supervisor. You must say, I really appreciate that. Maybe you might get that. It's not going to reflect in your pay or anything else, right? And so you're going to ask yourself, well, Riv, if I'm not going to get compensated and whatever, I'm going to tell you something. Not sometimes, here's why you need to do those things. It's not for the company. It's not for your supervisor. It's for you.
Yeah.
To prove to yourself that you can do and go above and beyond if need be. Because it's going to help you build up your confidence, because the time is going to come where you're going to come to this realization of the job and place that I'm at, I'm never going to advance past this. And you're going to start questioning yourself, is this all there is? Is this all I will ever be? Is this all I can ever do? Is this level? This is it. And if you go above and beyond these little things, whatever, that's what's going to say, no, I can do more. I am worth more. And it is time for me to go and seek employment elsewhere.
Yep.
Right? So, and if you get into the habit of being at work a little bit early, right? And maybe working a few minutes over because you need to finish up that last little task of the day or whatever, right? That's going to instill in you a work ethic that for you, not because when the time comes when you start really kind of hitting that wall because you're not promoting, you're not getting the raises or whatever, it's going to keep you from getting disgruntled, and you're going, and then like I say, those little opportunities come along where you can step up and do a little bit more. Then you're going to say, you know what? Okay, it's time for me to move on because I've outgrown professionally. Skill-wise, I've outgrown where I'm at and I need to move on. And you'll have the confidence and you'll have the ethics, the work ethics, because if you allow yourself to become disgruntled and you start coming in late and you kind of half-ass your day all day and you cut out early and you're taking multiple vape/smoke breaks throughout the day because you're just fed up with everything, that becomes those become habits. And what that will turn into is you becoming unemployable and you not being able to, if you decide, hey, I've outgrown this, you go to an opportunity where you'll make more, you're not going to last there because they're going to, this person's horrible.
Being a degenerate in the chat, I hope you know.
What's that?
Your favorite is being a degenerate in the chat. I hope you realize.
Yeah, I seen the little cheeky talk back and forth between him and Seth, and Kay Huck's even getting her little 2 cents in. Yeah, we're here talking about advice and career advice, and these guys are sitting there trying to have a dadgum love connection, like, back to two.
Seth's his older brother. Apparently, they've talked about this. Apparently, it's already been decided where she's going.
Oh, so what? Hang on. So she toyed with my youngest son's emotions, led him on, and so now.
No, he said no. He turned her down. Talk to your son. He rejected our precious Seth.
Let me tell you something, okay? I am staying out of that. First of all, would I love having Seth as a daughter-in-law? 1000%. I love Seth. Seth is my favorite. I've never made any qualms about that. I think she practically walks on water. I think it's awesome. I think she's awesome. I think she's would be an excellent wife to anybody she ever marries, right? I think she's just the cream of the crop. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to my sons, I have learned that part, I got to stay out of it. I have to stay out of it, period. Point blank, period. I have to.
I don't though. Listen, I will talk to both. I would love to have such a sit down with your sons. We should take over. Listen, Nat, do you want to take over Peepaw's morning show next Wednesday? We will talk. We'll just talk about him. It'll be great. But
I'm
yeah,
not that interesting. Trust me.
We do well, we'll see. I feel like we should get into like our fun stuff now. We've done a lot of preaching. I will I think if I feel like that was like the Gen X wrap up. I'll give the millennial wrap up. I'm not offended by that term, work to live, live to work. I do know better than to say that at work to anybody who isn't like a peer. I would say that. I will say that I was obviously raised by a Gen Xer, and she.
Whoa! Did you see what Seth just put in the chat?
What? That he don't want me? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He rejected her.
No, she says he don't want my kitty. Seth.
I think she was.
I don't need.
Sad cat. I don't think that's what she meant.
Okay, good. Because listen, I don't need to see this.
No,
I don't need to see that part of the conversation.
Yeah, I don't think that's. I really don't.
Okay.
That's what she meant.
All right. All right. Okay.
She's been pretty tame actually by Seth's. Interrupted my flow entirely. Yeah, I don't. And
well, I don't think we're. Listen, I don't think we're going to get to. I don't think we're going to get into the palate cleansers. It's already after 8:00.
We're not. None of them. There was.
No.
Okay.
Listen,
no,
we have to. Here's what's going to have to happen. You and I are going to have to learn how to not be jabberjaws.
First of all, I don't think it was both of us. Can we just? I'm just going to send you.
Whoa! Was it both? Who was the jabberjaw? Who was the jabberjaw?
To put a poll. But yeah, just the last one that I sent you. Hang
on here. Let me start a poll right now.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the question: Who
absolutely could, Milltown.
was the jabberjaw today?
Yeah, the day that I find somebody who wants to be because I need a little bit of input, but I don't talk to anybody. I can go on forever if you let me. But I do need some points. You know what I mean? Like occasionally you need to be like, hey, what about this thing? And then I'll just go off. But yeah, so sorry, millennial wrap up. Remember that you need to work hard. If you're a woman, be especially careful with other women. You need to think about your career because even though I'm fortunate that my job is a little bit light sometimes, generally speaking, like I have a lot of benefits that make it easier for me. I spend a lot of my free time on personal development. I take courses, I read books that are about communication, I practice coding, like a lot of, I know you guys see me online a lot of what I'm doing is usually that, like, I maybe am not working as hard at my job every day, but I'm investing into myself and my career as often as I can. And I know some people are listening to this and being like, well, I'm not type A and I'm not that. There are apps now, you could do this on your phone. But there was a quote that I read a while ago that said your level of success will never exceed your level of willingness to develop yourself. And I do feel like that's true. At whatever point you stop learning and stop growing, you die. That's where you'll be. And for some people, that's fine. If you've reached a level in your career and you're fine being there for as long as possible, do that too. But if your goal is to rise in the ranks and, get to cushy places, then you're gonna have to work hard. And I know that Gen Z is like, no, we're setting boundaries. Absolutely set boundaries. Don't let your employers take advantage of you. But understand that, like, asking you to come in on time and not be on your phone and all these things, these are not taking advantage of you. Telling you to take courses is not taking advantage of you. Asking you to do grunt work, which is a lot of the times how you learn and how you perfect, not taking advantage of you.
So which one of these do you want to show for you said the last one?
Okay. The one you have up.
Okay.
Because I saw it and I was like, I'm gonna subject people to this.
Okay, so let me see if I can get this thing going here. Go here.
I think you refresh it and it'll start.
I'll
from the
refresh it.
Pin back there.
And what's got bro down?
Check your vibes. You're yapping at Ulfric Stormcuck, the true Short King.
Ulfric, the Sigma of Windhelm? You're the leader of the Rizbellion, but if they've copped you, on gods, where are they thug shaking us?
I don't know. But Kaisinath awaits.
No, this is Cap. This must be Cap.
Hey, what goon cave are
Go
you
to the
from,
next.
Bacon?
Go to the other.
Why you
picture,
duck?
click the
This is
arrow.
Bussin. I used to riz up a gat from here. Wonder if Velod is still making that grimace shake with prime berries maxed in. Funny. When I was a femboy, Simperial walls and towers used to make me feel so locked in.
Can I just say,
No.
I didn't understand any of that shit.
What do you mean? They're speaking perfect English.
Okay, whatever.
He said he used to riz up a gat in the city. There was a girl he used to see in the city.
Okay.
You know?
So we've had 6 votes on the poll out of the, whatever it is, 9 people, whatever's watching.
Mm-hmm.
83% says JiJi was a jabberjaw today, and 17% says that I was. So there you
I
go.
appreciate y'all being nice to people and lying to this man, okay? Also, most of y'all weren't here at 7:30, okay? So he talked a lot at the beginning, and I more wrapped it up. So, you know, whatever. And I am a yapper, okay? This is why me and Toxic are enemies, is he was like, she talks too much. Fuck you, Toxic, okay? Every day. Always and forever. Catching strays for no reason. He's asleep like what the fuck I do. You did this a year ago. Yeah. So it was a good time. Did everyone enjoy that Skyrim in modern English? I love the Gen Alpha vernacular. Did you negative aura? That's what you have right now, people. Negative aura.
Okay, fine. Negative aura. Whatever. I don't understand any of this. I don't am out of my element here. I don't think
Toxic talks enough. I could agree with that. He doesn't talk enough. He should talk more. I'm telling you, I'm trying to get him on a podcast. I think we should recreate frenemies. Is what I think. I think it would be fun. It would be fun for me.
Okay, first of all, I know what Riz means. Riz is basically to talk up a girl, to try to impress her, to possibly get her on a date or whatever. I understand what Riz is, right?
What about phantom tax? Do you know what that is?
I have no idea what that is.
What about gyat? Do you know what gyat refers to?
Gat?
Gyat.
No, I don't guess so.
G-Y-A-T-T. Gyat. Do you know what it means if somebody says you're their Sigma or you're their Alpha?
Yeah, Sigma. That's like you're saying they're like the like inspiration, or you're like
senpai. Like you're a senpai.
Yeah,
you're the thing I'm aspiring to be. Yep. You're my Sigma.
Yeah.
Alpha.
Sure. Yeah, I get that. Beta. Yeah, I
don't
understand.
use that one. They don't really go with that one, but Sigma and Alpha, that's a thing.
Okay.
Phantom tax. Do you want to? Phantom tax, I
Sure.
think, is real good. Phantom tax is like if you're eating fries and I take one. That's
Oh,
yeah.
When you ask the wife, so you ask your date, girlfriend, wife, whatever, you want fries? No.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't want you eating out of mine. And then you look over,
But you know
and
she's gonna do it.
Yeah, they start pilfering. Yeah, and that's the tax for being a girlfriend or a wife or
Phantom
whatever.
tax.
Yes.
So it's phantom tax.
Yeah.
Yep. That's what it is.
So yeah, all right. Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Pilfering fingers to stay away from my friend. Listen.
Exactly.
It's called a phantom tax for a reason.
No, what
also,
you do.
Parents do this to their kids too. So
here's the alpha move on this, right? If you take your wife out, your girlfriend, whatever it is, you want to date, and you say, hey, do you want, no, you buy them fries and put it in front of them, right? Just know ahead of time, right? Or better yet, rather than getting like your normal size fries, get the bigger size fries and set it between the two of you to share the fries. Just a man in this situation, as a man, you have to understand that there's a price. Just get and let her do the thing. That's just the way it is, man. Just let her do it. So.
yeah, dude, that's a thing we should talk about at some point. Is that because I do see
Nat says going to be a phantom limb. You're gonna cut your finger. Cut your arm for taking his fries.
You know, I guess it's good I don't eat fries, but I am that
Yeah.
person. I think that is the thing with the some of the things I see with the younger generation in terms of expectations is something. It's something. It's something. That's what I'll say. But but we're gonna wrap up the show. Do the thing. I don't appreciate being called a yapper.
Yapper.
But
Yeah,
fine.
you little yapper. That's what Seth called you, the little yapper. So what's going on in JiJi's world? Where can the
you can hear me yapping for longer.
the tens and 12s viewers that I get.
I think people do the rewatch because even when I'm not here, I like my morning show. Well, also because K Huck is here, we'll say I know she has a show on Friday with somebody called, oh my god, I couldn't pronounce the name, but I'm very curious. She's an artist and she does some things. Saturday we're doing ladies night, which is unusual because normally we do that on Thursdays. Yeah. But we are doing it on Saturday afternoon. Scumbagovich. Yes, Scumbagovich. Okay. Yeah. So I'm very much looking forward. I'm not on that one, but I'm looking forward to that one. We'll do ladies night on Saturday. Trust, I have all the TikToks. I have so many TikToks. And then on Monday evenings, we've been doing it 6 to 8, even though that's not our actual schedule. Playing Saints Row with Squatchin. Mm-hmm. Now we are in Endgame, so if you're joining now, just be along for the ride. We're gonna play 4 after this. I'm very excited for 4. And I'm gonna start doing more of my own things. I'm right now pretty much exclusively on other people's channels, which I love. This is why I do it. I love hanging out with my peoples. But it would be great if I could also be monetized someday. So, so you can see me Saturday on Cutcast and Mondays with Scotchin to play Saints Row. Yep.
Cool.
I'll probably be here on Wednesday.
I was actually going to encourage you to start developing your own stream. Yeah. And start doing, the collaborative stuff that you're doing, like with Squatching with me, K Huck, things like those are great. And I love doing the collaborations, right? Calling in or even setting up ahead of time, that type of stuff. I love doing that, right? But I also think it's important for you to have your own space where you get to fully convey your thoughts and you're not necessarily competing with other people.
What's interesting? My biggest driver, other than I do want to do more recorded content. Listen, when I start talking about movies, if you think I can yap now, get me started on a movie that I have thoughts about. Is that right now I don't bite my tongue that much. You guys have all heard me speak, but I am very mindful of whose channel I'm on when I'm doing these things. Like I know that there's things people doesn't want to get into sometimes. And not that he won't get into them, but just like this is meant to be light. Same thing with K Huck on her channel, and Squatchin's never put that limit on me. But I don't know if you guys have heard Squatchin, the lovely and amazing Squatchin. She is a very chill gal. You know what I mean? She doesn't get into the mess either. Like she'll have conversations with me, but she doesn't get into topics either. So, and not that I'm going to on my channel, but I won't have to think about that. I think as much, and granted, I will very much. I'm gonna get canceled for sure at some point because
we all do.
But I also feel like that's how I'll learn and that's how I'll adjust and hopefully be better next time. Like that I can promise you. I can promise you I will mess up, and I can promise you that I will learn from that mistake.
So I'll just say, because I seen your question, Milltown. Earlier, you wanted to know my thoughts about President Biden dropping out of the race. What I will say is I think hopefully it will be taken as a non-political statement because that's how I intend it. I think honestly that for his own well-being, he needed to. It was painfully clear. If you go back and even look at the 2020 debates when he was in the primaries, and then later on subsequently when he was debating the then President Trump, and the man that was having press conferences and even the most recent debate with former President Trump, it was not the same person. There had been a very steep decline of his, and I think for his own well-being, I think he, regardless of how you feel about the man politically, he served this country as a senator, as a vice president, and then as a president. He has done his civic duty. He has served this country. He served his constituents. He served the people of America. He did his time. He's done his, he stood his watch, and he needs to go home and spend his remaining years enjoying the fruits of his labor with his wife, his children, and his grandchildren, and I think maybe even great grandchildren at this point. He's done all he needs to do. So I wish him the best.
They want to know, like, in general, how do you? Because we said earlier in the show, Riv and I had a big old discussion about politics yesterday.
We really did.
And I would say, like, it was a very good discussion. We fought because but we do that about everything.
Yeah.
But I feel that it's really rare that you get to have those conversations. And obviously, I'm not going to tell anybody how to vote or how they should think or anything like that. But I do want to encourage everybody to look more into things and figure out what your priorities are, because that's really the conversation came down to that for me and Rib.
Sure.
Is we have different priorities, because I don't think our values are different. I don't think our morals are necessarily different. So
we don't have different priorities. I don't think so. You and I both want America and the citizenry, more importantly, the citizenry of America, to thrive, to have autonomy, and to be able to live our best lives. Where we difference is what the path that you see to get us there versus the path that I see that gets us there. Is that a fair statement?
But see, that's what I see. So this is where language is the thing. That's what I see as a difference in priorities. I think we both want what you think is the most important thing to get there, and what I think is different. Like I think we both want us to end at the same point. Yes. Right. Yeah, we both want a better America.
Better America, stronger America, a better America. Yes.
Yeah, what the American, to me, the saddest thing is I do feel like the American dream is dead.
I don't think it's dead, but it's definitely on freaking life support.
It's on life support at least, and that's really impactful to me. I would almost say a little bit more, because I do consider myself still an immigrant. I was born in Puerto Rico.
Okay,
it's rough.
So here's why I would say it's not dead. Yeah. I think if the American dream was truly dead, then we would not have as many people as we currently do fighting to come to this country.
No, because that doesn't mean things aren't worse elsewhere. Like, you know what that.
All right, so
hold on.
Hang on, let me clarify.
Worse than democracy is what everyone else is doing.
Okay, so here's the deal. The perception. How about this? The perception of the American dream is still alive, right?
Yeah.
And so that's why people and they're leaving a horrible environment, a horrible existence, because they don't have that. They're not allowed to have that dream. They don't allowed to have that dream to where they currently reside and live, that they can have that pursuit of excellence, right? And there's still that opportunity. There's still that pathway, although it's extremely hard. It's not that it's not obtainable. I still think it's obtainable, but it's the people that actually are able to obtain it anymore is extremely. It's just a very narrow band, right? That's allowed to pass through.
I mean, to the degree that I think people think of, where like you can afford to buy a house, maybe. But I will say that, and I grew up in Miami. So meaning I grew up around a lot of Cuban people who came from Cuba under Castro. Like literally people who, if not them, their parents got to America by getting on a boat and praying to God kind of people.
Sure.
And which is why it's so disheartening, some of the things that the Cubans are for now. But anyways, And when I was back home, it was very much American dream, and we're here to work, and we're here to give our kids the opportunity. And then I moved to New York and talked to people here, especially immigrants, especially Russian immigrants for some reason.
Yeah.
Because Ukrainian immigrants don't feel this way, and I only put that because for some reason these were the people that happened to me. It has nothing to do with the current situation over there. And it really disheartened me how many of them were like, I came to America for a better thing, and it just wasn't here. And what I'll say is, like I said, I came here from Puerto Rico. My mother, I was raised by a single mother, and she worked her ass off to get us to, the middle. And I've worked my ass off to get a little bit above that. And I do feel like if you work very hard, and if you have a plan, and once again, if you work hard,
but
and you get a little bit lucky, you can
isn't
do
that okay? So that kind of is the American dream, right?
That is the American dream.
Because I look back at my parents, who were dirt poor. We always had a roof over our head, and we always had clean clothes to put on. Sometimes they were patched or they were homemade, right? We had to survive. We had to have a garden. We had to hunt wild game to supplement our for our meat source, right? There were weeks that we really didn't have meat except for maybe on the weekend. My mom might cook a chicken, roast a chicken or something for Sunday lunch after church, that type of thing, right? So,
but we definitely went without. We went without. I'll say that.
We lived a lot off of beans and taters. Okay, so I came from very meager upbringing, and then they instilled in me two things. One, education was important, and two,
you're gonna work hard.
And to work hard, work hard. And so that's what I did. I got an education, and I've worked hard, and I tried to instill in that in my sons to educate themselves. Doesn't necessarily mean go to college, but you need to have a marketable skill. That was what I focused on, a marketable skill. Doesn't necessarily mean college, but you need a marketable skill. And
but even just the working hard part, I think, is the biggest thing, because I know a lot of people in our community are also artists, and other things like that. You still need a skill set for business if you want to be able to do that for a living. But that's one of the things with the younger generation, I think we were alluding to. But the American dream is not come here and we're gonna give you everything. The American dream is come here and you're gonna get opportunity. Do you know what that means? That means we're gonna open the door, and it's gonna be up to you to be enough to be able to walk through it and do what you need to do. And I think that's a beautiful thing, to live in a country where you can work hard and do a thing. I think that we've lost that. This is a priorities thing. I think the biggest problem in this country is, weirdly, the family situation. And I say that as somebody who's often viewed as liberal. I think the family situation is a bigger issue than anything else. I think that's what's eroded our ethics and morals more than anything else. But either way, having a family is hard. You're gonna have to work hard. Having a job is hard. You're gonna have to work hard. You're gonna have to learn and educate yourself. And I really hope we can get back to a day, going back to politics, where the things that we're talking about on a grand scale are no longer identity politics or women's rights over their bodies, which I feel gets too much of the focus today. We can actually talk about our education system and our infrastructure and these kind of things that affect the country, like all of us as a whole. And I long for that day. So Biden stepping down, to me, was a little bit of a move in that direction. We'll see how it goes. But now is the time, I think, for everyone to start really thinking about what is the America you want to see, who you think is best to support that, and do your best not to act on headlines and other people's opinions and make your own as much as you can.
Yeah.
Because I know the media is what the media is. But yeah. So, and if you have somebody in your life who's on a different side of your political spectrum, like I have with Riv, I think those conversations are good to have if you can have.
Yes.
Them
just don't yell and scream. Listen, talk, give the other person time to respond. You respond. But the biggest thing is when and this is such a hard skill, and it took me a very long time developing this myself, was when a person says something that you don't agree with, don't shut down, don't disengage, and don't just stop listening, right?
Yeah, but also don't let them disrespect you. Let's be clear, because there are some relatives who will straight up to your face, your lifestyle and you are going to hell. Don't.
Yeah.
If they
well, no. Don't. Yeah, if they're rude. Yeah. I'm not talking about being rude, but if they just say something that you don't you don't agree with, their ideology doesn't align with yours, or philosophy doesn't align with yours, I got news for you. There is no one right answer. Yeah. There isn't. There is no, this is the perfect thing, because everybody is different. Everybody's experience of life is different. And what works for me won't work for JiJi. And what works for JiJi won't work for me. Right? And I think at the end of the day, what I would love to see is and I don't really care who is at the helm of this ship when this happens. I really don't. What I would want to see is I want to see a America where we become a producer and not just a consumer, and we have opportunities that allow parents to not, because right now we have basically two types of jobs. You have entry-level, what I term entry-level, non-skilled jobs, like working retail or food industry, fast food industry, that type of thing. Or you are professionally employed, you're at the corporate level, you're white-collar stuff. There is no middle. There's no middle. The blue-collar stuff doesn't exist anymore. And we need to bring back manufacturing. We need to bring back factories. We need to bring back that type of stuff.
Be careful about people who tell you, like, don't go to college, only go to a trade school. I think that that's very good and smart, and it's possible. But understand that trade school is going to get your foot in the door and is going to allow you to make a good amount of money quickly. But if you don't educate yourself to, like, run a business and expand and grow beyond that, you're still going to be living paycheck to paycheck. So understand that that's not me looking down on trade school. Again, I think they're amazing and wonderful and the best for people who want to do that. But with everything, go beyond.
Let me just tell you, for far, far too long, young people were told college, and trade schools were diminished,
that was my thing. That's why
diminished to nothing. And so now we don't have people doing the trades like welding or auto body or mechanics or HVAC or plumbing. And those guys are a premium. And let me tell you something. Yeah. Those people who are doing those types of jobs, it costs you a fortune to have those skilled trade skills to come in and do work for you.
You can't do them forever. You're going to be breathing in fiberglass. Like, everything comes at a cost. So the cost for me to be at my level is that I have to constantly raise my education and my reputation and network and do all the things. If you go to trade school, yes, they're going to, like, maybe you didn't have to go to college to do it, but it usually is going to be a lot harder on your body. I have a number of friends who work specifically in HVAC. And even they're in their 30s and they're like, I can't really do this for more than, a couple more years, because what are you going to do? So, I really do hope we get
what happens is in the early years, like in trade schools, you go out there, you learn your trade, right? What JiJi's right is you have to learn the business side of things, right? Because eventually what you have to do is you have to go from being the worker, the grunt, to where you have to become the supervisor or the owner, right? And you have to start your own, and then you start training and educating the younger generation. And so that's how the cycle continues, because those jobs are a very physical, demanding type jobs. Some are worse than others, right?
My
But
ex was a mechanic, and he said that, like, his body, and he's only slightly older than me. His body is wrecked from being hunched over an engine.
Sure.
I think his hand was. I think he said he accidentally punched an engine block once, so his hand was like messed up still, like things like that. Like, and he's a mechanic, so what is he gonna do? Other than that, but you have to expand. So I think we're ending it on a political note. I feel like at least my political statement is educate yourself and decide what's important to you, and go on that.
I agree with that. But just don't. If you are a square peg, do not force them. Don't allow someone to force you to go through the round hole.
Yeah. And also, I would love anyone who knows me knows I am not a fan of Trump. I very much dislike that man. And I'm sitting here telling you, do what's in your brain and your heart. Because I do also hope that whatever the outcome of this next election, the next 4 years can be less contentious than what they've been. This is my hope. And so, talk to people, educate yourselves. And be willing to listen, because I don't want to get into it, but the whole thing that happened with Destiny, I obviously I do think his statements are inflammatory, but I've been really surprised at people being like, well, shut him down and he shouldn't be allowed to say that. And I was like, no, this is America.
Nope.
He needs to be allowed to say that.
He needs to be allowed to say it.
Yep.
I agree with that.
I
don't agree with the man said. I vehemently do not agree with what the man said.
Right.
And I don't think that just because you support a political candidate that you should be, because of that, you should, if something happens, I don't think you say, you should, that's just what you get for attending that political rally. Because I don't think violence is ever the answer.
More to that.
Period.
There's more to that than what it was. But I don't think that statement should have been made, because I do feel it was inflammatory. But the point he was making, and this is why it is important for you to make up your own mind, was that what he feels, what Destiny feels, is that Trump supporters are the ones who raise the temperature on this country. So how can they be mad now? And that's his feeling, and he has his reasons for feeling that way. And there's any number of streams if you want to get into that. But my thing is like, if you feel that, you should be able to go on your platform and say that. And he'll have people who agree and people who disagree.
And here's the thing. I don't disagree with you. I think he should be whatever. But that also means that person has to live with the consequences of making those statements. Yeah, and I feel he has also. He's been getting shit for it since he said it. And I think people are distancing themselves from him that they were, but they've come back around, because he's pretty much the only liberal political pundit. I know I've been watching a lot more Destiny lately as a result of that, because he does a lot of research streams. Obviously, I'm into that. And I don't agree with him on everything. Before anybody says this is a Destiny fangirl, I am not. I'm so not. I very much disagree with him on a number of things. But he goes through the research. He goes through the documents. He goes through these things. And he's at least willing to concede in the places where the evidence shows it. And that's really if you're hearing something from me, it's that. It's do the research. Understand what it is. And he did, he did expose the whole boogie nonsense.
That too. He did. He has given us quite some content.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Anyway, but I do have to get to work. But listen, thanks everybody for tuning in. Make sure you're catching JiJi with the Squatching gameplays, K-Huck, and you do some
Saturday for ladies' night. Everyone is welcome, even if you're not a lady. But
don't you have some stuff? Don't you do something with the still recording too?
I'm an unofficial member of Still Recording. I very much just wormed my way in there.
Well, that's what you do. I mean, that's what you, not you, but that's what happens, right?
No, this is me specific. This is what I do.
You just ingratiate yourself in there. Say, oh, you open the doors. Oh, thanks for inviting me. Yeah. Yes.
I demand
yes.
entry, and then
yes.
if I'm not invited
look.
specifically next time, I cry about it.
Sometimes,
Yep.
sometimes that you just kind of have to, you kind of have to say, I want a seat at the table, right? Sometimes you have to kind of do that. And
I'm actually in the Still Connected intro saying, so how many of these streams do I have to do to get into the intro? And guess what? I made the intro. So I'm, set
there you
goals
go.
and you can achieve them. Yep.
She threatened her way. Well, yes, I understand that, K-Huck. Why do you think we do Wednesday morning shows with JiJi here now? Blink twice if you need help.
Meanwhile, the stream was supposed to. And listen, Nads, I already have this man. I don't need this from you. Okay. You've talked to your father. You know that we'll be saying goodbye for. We could easily say goodbye for another 20 minutes if you let us.
Yeah.
But anyways.
Milltown says JiJi did great and great streams. I appreciate all the support, and like I say,
I appreciate the support, people coming in the morning,
and the VOD squad that will watch this later on because they don't get up early like this old man. I appreciate all you guys too. I really do. But anyway, like I said, you can catch JiJi in multiple places. K-Huck still recording.
Eventually on my own channel.
On her own with
follow me on
Squatchin'.
Twitter. I've been killing it on Twitter.
Yeah,
Can I say I've been doing great over there.
Yep. Check out her all of her socials and stuff. And until next time, guys, remember, keep your powder dry, and we will see you in the funny papers. Bye-bye.
I'm a little young, but you don't know what I've become.